This is Angel Orsini.
This is the Human Hand Grenade, Danny Only.
This is Dirty Dutch Mantel.
This is Liz Savage.
This is Vinny O'Brien, 2010 Golden Glove champion. This is Gabe Sapolsky from Dragon Gate USA and Evolve Pro Wrestling, and you're locked into Beyond Ringside.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff.
Just after the top of the hour, 8 p.m. Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. Welcome in, Beyond Ringside, back to basics. This 4th day of February 2014. First off, thank you to everybody listening through BeyondRingside.com. Taking a look over in the chat room, got questions, comments, stuff you'd like to say, please throw it on out there. Love to hear from you tonight. Thank you to everybody who's listening via all the mobile apps, Shoutcast, WinAmp, Ustream. We are live simulcast on Ustream this evening. And once again, all the way through the Ustream live tab on the Facebook fan page for Beyond Ringside, all of the above. Still working on even more ways to listen. Also been getting some great numbers and great feedback off the podcasts that have been loaded from last week's shows, from Thursday night Cosz and Effect, from Saturday Showcase, and from Beyond Ringside Live Sunday night. If you missed BR Live Sunday night, it's kind of like, oh hell, the gang's all here. Yours truly, along with Mark Mabo Bowman, the Wicked Nemesis, Ted Guinness, all coming together on a Sunday night, Super Bowl Sunday. You know, I love how quickly the conspiracy theorists come around, and there is a website that has been posting, and I will say, just seeing who's paying attention when they do it too, that an unofficially official or an official investigation has been started by the National Football League into the actions coming out of Sunday's Super Bowl. Look, the Seahawks just came to play. They were the better team. If you think there was a fix-in, keep right on thinking it. Also, from that vantage point, apparently the fix was in last night for, let's just say, certain WWE fans, because the reports have been flying around. And there were a couple of people on Twitter, and these people are getting high profile through some of the sites, including Wrestling Inc. One of the tweets that was put out said WWE kicked out nearly 40 people for chanting for CM Punk. You know, I thought that was addressed the previous week by Daniel Bryan as to the fans being able to chant for whom they wish to chant. You paid your money. You can chant for whoever you want to. I remember one episode where people started chanting for Colt Cabana. And Colt doesn't work for the company. But if this was also during the summer of Punk, I'll put that one out there too. Apparently signs were being confiscated. So I don't know how many people got thrown out, if anybody got thrown out. I know that during the first hour and 20 minutes, I counted 11 CM Punk chants, either CM Punk or We Want Punk. It's WrestleMania season. Fans are going to get rowdier. Look, as long as they're not throwing stuff in the ring, as long as they're not assaulting the in-ring talent or security, or anybody who works for WWE or the venue, or each other, they're not starting a fight. Let them chant what they want to chant. Fans have the right to do that. It's called voicing their opinions. Plain and simple. So apparently there is a advertisement going around that Punk is advertised for the Chicago show next week on Monday night. Somebody think Punk just wanted a vacation before Mania? I mean, I've heard all the reports. I've read all the sheets. I've heard what everybody's got to say. If you put apples to apples and oranges to oranges, the case point scenario in play is he had the longest title reign in 25 years with the WWE Championship. Lo and behold, he had a great short run with Brock. Last year, great match with Taker. The question on the table is, with one of the rumors circulating, the fact that he felt facing Triple H at this year's Mania would have been a step down for him. How many former champions has that occurred with? I mean, think about it. Miz was headlining WrestleMania a couple of years ago, and lo and behold, where is he at now? And then lo and behold, with the ending of Raw from last night, think about this. For those who haven't seen it yet, watch it. Because I'm just going to go ahead and say this. My match of the year candidate so far is AJ Styles and Roderick Strong from this past Saturday night's Ring of Honor television show. I saw the Daniel Bryan-Bray Wyatt match. It's got to be given consideration. I also watched Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton last night. That one's got to be given consideration by a lot of people. Look, even the WWE Tag Team title match between the New Age Outlaws and the Rhodes Brothers. Solid match from start to finish. Don't know if but remember, we're just now cracking into February. And the keyword for some people is crack. How you doing? But the fact of the matter stands, everybody's going to have their opinions. So the easy way to say it is, judge for yourself in the overall situation. And when people decide to break their own imposed silence, let them break their silence. And then take what they say and form your own opinion. We're in a culture that when it comes to professional wrestling, as well as mixed martial arts, no, I don't have a cough button. Sorry about that. The easiest thing to do is jump to conclusions, which is a normal thing. We do it all the time. It's part of the human condition. But there are times when it actually pays to be able to know what conclusion you're jumping towards before you make that fatal leap and it comes out from under you. Going to be joined in just a few minutes by professional wrestling star Lightning Lee Peak, longtime friend, worked in and around the southeastern United States, and for a lot of people, longtime fans of pro wrestling. You will be able to remember him from the National Wrestling Alliance Crockett shows, TBS Atlanta. Strong around the southeastern United States, made a number of appearances on television and at live local events. It's going to be great to have Lee back on. Like I said, I've known him for a number of years. It's been a while since Lee's been on, and with a lot, it's time for a catch-up interview because Lee's also got a couple of exciting projects in the works right now, too. Sorry about that. I got a cheese grater working in my throat tonight. It's just not going to let me cooperate. Also, rumor has it that the Cosz and Effect Robert Cosper and the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, may be coming on board to join in for a couple of minutes at the top of the 9 o'clock Central Time hour. You know, for those who have had a chance to listen, slight subject change, to either the live broadcast or the podcast replay of the Back to Basics edition from last Tuesday night when the Phenom Phil Stamper came on board, we had a chance to really talk about the Combat Zone Wrestling live event, which is coming up and actually I'm doing it a misservice because it's not only CZW this Saturday, Voorhees, New Jersey, but it's also WSU, Women Superstars Uncensored. This is a great double bill coming up. It is available, czwippv.com. And for the smartasses in the crowd, no, I did not find a way to Eddie Layne my way onto the show. I couldn't afford the plane ticket, and I'm not OMK. Regular listeners to Cause and Effect are going to know that running gag. But when you've got talent on a show, and like I said, oh, and speaking of shows, I'll come to that in a second. Hang on, I'm going in 9 different directions because I've got so many show notes, things I wanted to cover in a short amount of time. Drew Gulak, AJ Styles, Devin Moore, Matt Tremont, the Beaver Boys, Murderers Row, Joey Ryan, Greg Excellent, Christina Von Eerie, Candice LeRae, all on the CZW side. On the WSU side, Jessica Havoc, Alpha Female, Shanna, Allison Kay, Sassy Staffy, Sassy Stephanie, Kimberly, Annie Social, Marty Bell, Lufisto, Athena, Vita Scott, Jenny Rose, Barbie Hayden, Santana Garrett on the Women's Superstars Uncensored side, WSU. The way I understand it, I may be mistaken, so please don't hold me to it, but I'm going off the information as I've derived it. Both shows are included at one pay-per-view price. The WSU show goes off earlier in the afternoon. CZW goes off, I think it's around 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Working on double-checking my numbers right now. And also, but seriously, check it out. czwrestling.com. The place to check it out. For those who have not had a chance to look it up, nationalprowrestlingday.com. The event went great. They had a couple of minor technical glitches. But I will say this. I've had a chance to watch part of it. It was a free event that you could see on the web. I think Mabo called it a free preview, which I think is about right. No argument here. If you get a chance to go to National Pro Wrestling Day, follow the link. You get a chance to catch the entire replay of the show. Also, coming up around time for WrestleMania, you've heard me talk about it. We're going to talk a lot more about it. We're actually going to have some interviews with a lot of people involved in this. WrestleCon coming up on the weekend of WrestleMania in New Orleans, Louisiana at the Sugar Mill. Tremendous event. 5 companies already signing on 3 different shows. And it's definitely going to be worth the price of admission. I think you just might have missed the window to get a special price for all 3 shows. But check it out. WrestleCon.com. The way for a great weekend. Look, and I totally disagree with Vince McMahon's ego running in front of everything for next year's Mania in Santa Clara, and working out the agreement to where no organizations can get city-owned facilities. If they're not using the buildings, why block somebody else from bringing in tax revenue? Because this is the way I look at things. And I'm going to wrap this segment on this note. If WrestleCon goes to New Orleans for the same weekend as Mania, you have people who are going to go to Mania, period, but are not going to go to Access every night. They're going to want something different to do. And letting WrestleCon take place, Ring of Honor, $5 Wrestling, Combat Zone, WSU, and even more. Get these people, let these people have the opportunity to check out different shows. WWE puts forth the entity fact that it's the only thing going. Guess what? You're not. I hate to say it. There are a lot of great pro wrestling promotions, and 5 of them are going to be represented at WrestleCon, and that's just the beginning. So to try to nip it to where other companies can't come in is actually going to hurt your product in the long run. Because if you have that opportunity, like I said, people are going to go to WrestleMania. WWE fans are going to go to WrestleMania. But however, wrestling fans will check out WrestleMania and shows like WrestleCon. And I genuinely believe from the bottom of my heart, they deserve to have that choice. Plain and simple. Those going to go to the break real quick. When we come back, slated to be joined by Lightning Lee Peak right here for the Tuesday night conversation on Beyond Ringside, Back to Basics. 21 after the hour, sitting ready to have a little fun on this Tuesday thing. Welcome back into Beyond Ringside, Back to Basics. The Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Layne behind the control panel. Once again, want to say thank you to everybody who has been coming over to the Facebook fan page, facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. And of course, following us on Twitter. I'm actually relearning how to use Twitter. I can't say something in 140 characters. That's it. It takes me 140 characters to get pissed about 140. It takes me 160 to get pissed off about 140. There, I got it right that time. Sorry about that, kids. Like to welcome in, first off, longtime friend, inside the squared circle and out, Lightning Lee Peak. Glad to have you back on Beyond Ringside, brother.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, longtime friend is an understatement at this point.
We won't talk about...
It's good to be here, though.
We won't talk about popcorn fights at certain places in Birmingham.
No, popcorn fights, There are stories that we could tell that we would bore people to death with, but we would be in stitches through. So
and probably get stretchered 5 minutes after we tell them because everybody else involved would find us.
Yeah, we'd be hunted down by a few of those folks. That's for sure.
Now,
and speaking of stitches, don't let me forget to tell you about what ended my career a couple of years ago.
Definitely can arrange that. But before we go into an ending, I want to go back to a beginning because this is a question that I've never gotten to ask you on air.
Do we really need to go back that far?
Hey. Don't make me tell my age, okay?
All right, let's do this.
For all of us, whether it be in pro wrestling, mixed martial arts, all the way across the board in sports, there are two moments. The first moment where we become fans. And in our world, this entity and this, all of the above, called professional wrestling. The second moment is when the little light bulb goes off over your head and you say, okay, I gotta do this. For Lightning Lee Peak, what are those two moments?
Well, let's see, backing up a little bit further than my career, every Monday night at the Boutwell Auditorium, there was always wrestling there from as early as I can remember. Going back in, I believe 71 was my first match, and I still use parts of a midget match that I saw that night live back in 72. But moving forward, there was a gentleman. I went with a friend of mine, and we sat on ringside, section D, seats 3 and 4, and we got those seats every Monday night because of an older gentleman named Skyro who got those tickets for $1 extra per seat, and we sat right around the corner from Linda Marks, sat in section C, I believe it was. It was either C or A, but Linda was always just the nicest lady that you'd ever want to meet. You could tell that she had a good head on her shoulders, both business-wise and the fact that she knew this business inside and out because of her friends that she knew in the dressing room. So yeah, I'd like to say something about her just because she is such a wonderful lady. But yeah, I sat and basically drank my way through those matches, sitting on ringside, and at that point, I knew that it was physical. I knew that it was tough, but I also knew that I could pull it off with a little bit more size. Of course, I never really packed on a whole lot of size, but I was a perfect junior heavyweight in the time that the only people making money were the heavyweights, like Hogan and the rest. So. That being said, I'm kind of glad to see it going back to the smaller guys that can actually go to the mat and work. So yeah, that was the basis of everything was the part of being a fan, sitting on the front row, and again drinking my way through. And it was a lot of nights that I don't remember really leaving, but I know that I got home. But moving forward, we wound up hearing about a little show in Fairfield. You remember it well. A lot of Mike's guys. This is Mike Jackson. He was doing the booking and sending guys to Atlanta TV. I wound up getting involved with that group. I must have, with my football background, I still had a decent physique and I was athletic, so I could. I wound up doing pretty well, pretty quick, and the other guys that were traveling with Mike, they kind of picked up on it. So I wound up going to Atlanta TV really early in my career. I guess I went before I was 6 months in. First two matches were against Magnum TA, Terry Allen. Both matches lasted less than 30 seconds. It took me longer to lace my boots both times than it took me to get beat. But everybody saw me get beat and nobody saw me get paid. And that's the problem I got. But that's kind of how everything started. But yeah, the light bulb went off kind of early. And once I showed up at Fairfield and started working out in a ring that was up 24/7, I learned how to run the ropes. Had the huge bruise that all the newbies get. My first good stretching, and if you know anything deeper than the business and what you see on TV, if you go in and get stretched, you know exactly what you've gotten yourself into. And Paul Barnett, or Foots, all 6'7", about 260 pounds of him, stretched me from one end of the ring to the other, and that was my initiation into it. After that, I was still standing, and they started sending me to TV. They said I was tough enough to take it. And as far as Atlanta TV goes, we had a couple of rules. It was bump, sell, fight back. They'll beat you when they want to.
Out of the stories that I've heard from you, MJ, Foots, Allen, RB, Randy Barber, miss him.
God bless.
There was always one person or one team that you just cringed whenever you knew you were going to face them on television.
All depends on. Yeah, there were two. Anytime three. There was always the Road Warriors, because they were barely smart to the business at the time that we started. Poor Randy, I thought they were going to kill him. He had Animal for like 4 weeks in a row, and Animal, I don't think they smartened him up. They just put him out there and basically said, sick him. So, yeah, Randy, I think, wound up in about the third row of Atlanta TV, just pitched there by Animal. The Road Warriors were scary. Once they hit the music, they kept the studio cold anyway. I'm not sure why they did that, but the cold chill that hit whenever they hit their music, you knew that there was a beating on its way. I never got to worry. That's one. The other one that worries me, or that worried me at the time, was Buzz Sawyer. He was certifiably crazy. I understand that shortly before I started going to Atlanta TV, Dusty had to come out and threaten to fire him to get a kid's boots back because he picked them up. He found out that they were new, and he kept them. And when you got Buzz, if Buzz takes something, you say, "Thank you, Buzz, I didn't need it," because you know better than to mess with him. And any time that Ole was involved, you knew that you were as close to really getting hurt as you could possibly be, and still get in there and work, because he was a grappler, and if there was ever anything to be policed, he could go out there and police it really quick. He was dangerous, and you respected him. You had to. You didn't have a choice. So that was the group that I worried about. Past that, there were guys that just typically worked stiff. You knew that if you were in there with Ron, you were going to come back just blood blisters on your chest. You knew it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And there were guys like, I hate to say it, but guys like Rude, that if you went out there and he come back feeling like he pulled a muscle, he was going to blame it on you, and you're going to get an earful. And the bad thing was, a lot of us had been getting beat up longer than he had been beating up. So, it wasn't really our fault, but we took the chewing because that's what we did. So, but that was really the group that really worried me as far as drawing. Now, if you ever drew Magnum, and I think that's really why I wound up with him the first 2 weeks, because if I got through one spot, the finish was next. So,
I remember those.
It was pretty simple to go out there.
I remember those, yeah. It's like, he didn't get paid to work. He didn't get paid by the hour, and he knew it.
Oh, that's for sure. And they didn't want him out there long. They wanted him to go out there, get his win, and save all of his good stuff for the paid house.
Yeah, for the house shows.
Yeah, they did a good job of it. They built him very well. They turned him into a hero, and just the thing that they ran with Tully, it was masterfully done, especially considering their background.
Now, I had a two-parter. When you first approached the individual that you approached about getting into pro wrestling and training, what were you told back then? What was the first thing you were told that you remember?
That if I couldn't handle it, McDonald's was hiring.
First time I've heard that one. Thank you.
I remember hearing that. I remember that there was a discrepancy about the money that I should have paid and that I didn't pay because the group I was paying it to, I felt like I was already better than them to start with, and they were training me. So I kind of carved myself away and stuck with Alan and Foots and the rest of those guys, and they pretty much took me under their wing. I started working all of Mike Jackson's house shows as a referee. I learned more in black and white stripes than you could be taught, day in and day out in the ring trying to be taught. I mean, if you're that close to the action, you're gonna see how this job is done.
Now, what is the
back to your question? What were did you say something, Eddie?
Yeah, damn, sounds like one of our promos from the 80s.
What now?
It felt like one of our promos from the 80s.
No, we can't go there. Well, I don't know. What are the censors like on here?
Hell damn ass.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Anyway, what was the question again? Let me get back on track.
You said what? I asked you the question of what was, when you approached the person that you approached about getting into and training in pro wrestling, the first person, what were you told? Or what was the first thing you were told?
It sounds like you know more about this question than I do. Who are we talking about?
No. It's an open-ended question because everybody always has a different answer.
Because I remember the gentleman that owned the ring and ran Fairfield. We didn't really talk that much, other than the fact that he wanted his money. I don't really remember a whole lot of conversations. I remember that I was excited to be in the ring, and the more I was in there, the quicker I started catching on, and the quicker things came, because all the stuff that I had seen on television, I was able to get in there and work out and feel and get a feel for what I was doing. But it wasn't totally like that, because I was still physically trained by guys that knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Now, I refuse to name any names, so don't even ask, but
oh, no, I'm not.
There was a group that I have been involved with, and every one of them, it seemed like, were trained off television. They could do everybody's high spot and everybody's finish, but they couldn't tell a story to save their lives. Now, since then, I know the survivors out of this group, and the 3 survivors that I have in my head have become absolutely excellent workers, and they're still in the business.
Well, I remember, because I've always, one of the stories, or not one of the stories, but I remember you and I both worked with Southern Wrestling Federation, Wayne Spradlin's group. Then I kind of all moved over to All Pro with the Milliken family.
Right. And somehow did that in the same building. I hadn't really figured that one out yet, but
I haven't either.
But yeah, it seems like we always ran Fairfield until the blonde-headed gentleman, Calvin. That name rings a bell.
Yeah, it does.
The one that bought the boxing ring that we worked in and almost killed Farrell Spradlin in.
Okay, I remember that now.
Yeah, we had there was no gift to the ring. It was a boxing ring, and it was braced by 2 by 12, stood up on end like a floor.
Ouch!
And it didn't give. And,
no, it didn't.
Poor Farrell, he messed up his kidneys on his first bump one night, and I don't remember him going to the hospital, but I'm sure that by the time it was over with, he would have had to.
Yeah.
Blood in his urine, the whole 9 yards, because, if you don't land on your shoulders, the next thing is your lower back, and I mean, when nothing gives, they might as well slam them on the floor.
Pretty much. And I've bumped on that concrete floor at the old Fairfield Theater. Trust me, I know how that one feels.
Yeah, and you always bump and roll down the hill because it was literally a theater built on a slanted floor.
It was.
Yeah, it was kind of a mess.
It was the old Fairfield Theater that got turned into the Waylighters Music Hall that got turned into the home for two different pro wrestling organizations.
It did, yeah.
Matter of fact, speaking of in that era, if I say the words, the Nasty Boys, what does that ring a bell to you?
I would say Dwayne The Rock Phillips, and really he was The Rock before The Rock was The Rock. So Dwayne, if you're listening, there, okay, there.
So you've had that running gag with him too.
Yeah, he was really The Rock before The Rock was The Rock. So
we'll see.
And we were the Nasty Boys before the other two hit the big time with our name.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had fun with it, and we will keep Flat and Dry completely out of this conversation.
Hey. Oh, man. Too many one-liners, and this. See, and you let off with saying this.
I hate that your audience doesn't get let in on some of this stuff, because some of this stuff is just scary hilarious.
Yeah, because when you have an opportunity to just really sit back and shoot it with some friends, and you remember all these stories, you remember all the road trips. Oh God, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Is it not amazing that we've made it as long as we have?
Yeah, it really is. And I tell you, the worst thing that I've ever heard, even at this date, after 30 years of it, and I was going to tell you the thing that happened 2 years ago. I had a kidney transplant, and it was for a bad situation. It couldn't have worked out any better. But when I told the surgeon, "Look, I'm a professional wrestler," he looked me dead in the eye and said, "No, you used to be a professional wrestler."
Right.
That was painful. That really was, because you know yourself, this business is as addictive as anything out on the street.
Yep.
And there's no getting around that. Once you're bitten, you pray to get a contract, because you know deep down inside, unless you're just stubborn and mean and just can pull it off, you go out there and go up and wrestle for Mickey Henry for a Coke and a hot dog just to wrestle. Because being in control of a crowd of anywhere from 5 people to 15,000 people is highly addictive.
And therein lies the fun part, because I want to ask you about the evolution or de-evolution of the world that we've both been a part of for all these years. Because in the 80s, there was that rock star thing that all of us got caught up in the middle of. I mean, whether we were doing it 5, 6, 7 days a week, whether we were doing it 2 nights a week. I mean, it was genuinely a rock star thing.
Oh, it was. I kept a day job most of my professional wrestling career. I still was able to keep a day job, because most of my stuff was at night, and most of it was local enough to where I could make these shows and just get off work a little early. And I had people who I worked with that understood that. But when the key to it back then, I really believe, and the difference between then and now is television. I worked, and all us guys worked as independent contractors, and if we knew somebody that was on the show, or knew somebody that knew somebody that was on the show, we could work our way in. In my situation, I got to know Mike Jackson. He trusted me, and he sent me to television. And our weekend, my weekend, my week was pretty crowded in and of itself. But when I got off Friday, I would drive somewhere. I would wrestle somewhere Friday night, somewhere in the state. Saturday morning, I'd meet the guys at Boutwell Auditorium. We'd park in the back. We'd travel to the super station. We'd come back. We'd eat at the Cracker Barrel in Douglasville, and then we'd hightail it back to the Boutwell, where we would drop off a couple of guys, pick up a couple more guys, and then we'd head to Fayette. When we walked in the door at Fayette for that every Saturday night show, we walked in like rock stars. Everybody had just gotten through with dinner. They had watched the Superstation for 2 hours. They saw us, the beating we took that morning, they saw that afternoon, and then they came and saw us that evening. And whether we got beat or not, they knew we were somebody because we were on television. And that was, to me, that seems like the difference between the heroes then and the heroes now. And it showed in the way we carried ourselves. We knew better than to show up at television wearing a pair of shorts and a tank top. The one thing that I see that has fallen off so greatly is the fact that whenever we showed up dressed to the nines. Now guys show up and they look like they either rode with the ring truck or they came to watch. And that bothers me. I think they ought to show a little bit more little bit more pride in what they do.
I thought you were going to say the other word.
A little bit more pride in where and where this business came from, and they ought to be the ones that send it down the road in as high quality and as high standards as they received it.
I thought you were about to say the other word for a second there, the R word.
Which R word?
Respect.
Well, and there's guys that work on Saturdays, and that's all they do, and they don't have a whole lot of credibility backing them up. And when they walk in thinking they're somebody, when they're not, and when they don't dress the part, I mean, if you've got to put yourself together one set of clothes to show up to work, to show up at the arena in, wear it everywhere you go until it wears out and then get another one. But show up like you respect yourself and like you respect the business that you're trying to be a very substantial part of.
Just say, you can say the word, trying to be a star in.
Yeah, with nothing to back that up other than the fact that whoever's promoting that night had the courage to put you on the card. And, it seems like it doesn't take but 2 or 3 of these bookings to the new guys get so relaxed that they think they run the show. And I tell you, back when we were coming up through it, if somebody stood up and voiced their opinion with less than a year's experience, there would be somebody slapping their teeth down their throat or taking them out in front of the crowd and stretching them and giving the crowd what they wanted to begin with. The era, and we'll talk about a mutual friend, Jack Lord. Yeah. I know you're out there somewhere, Jack. He and I go back a ways. He's a great friend of mine. He understands about this situation of respect, and it was a situation of keeping your mouth shut and your ears open, and staying that way. And for what it's worth, do you remember Ken Timms?
Yes, very well.
I'm still pretty good friends with his wife and his son Wolfgang, and I think there's 1 or 2 other sons that wrestle. I went to the went with Jack actually to the Nightmare to Remember show over in Georgia last year, and ran into Wolfgang. And this kid has grown up. I remember when he was a long-haired little kid selling gimmicks. And this kid, I don't know that he remembered me, but he understood that I used to be somebody, and he was highly respectful for me. And I know that's the way he came up in this business, was to respect your elders and respect the business. And I was very impressed with that young man. And Juanita did a wonderful job with him, and so did Ken. And, God rest his soul, too. We miss him. But I do remember one night in, what was the high school in Alex City that we used to run?
Oh, Lord, I do not remember.
Wasn't Sachs, but it was another one down there.
Oh, crap.
Anyway, we were down there, and Ken Timms gave us about a 10-minute dissertation in the locker room, and all of us were sitting there with our arms crossed and our heads down, scared to look up, scared to say a word, because he was telling us our business. And he was telling us in matter-of-fact terms, you will not go to the ring without having bathed and without having deodorant and some kind of cologne on. You will not go out there stinking and put the person that you're entrusting your life with through the stench of you sweating all over them. And it was things like that stuck in my mind, coming from one of the very seasoned veterans. We don't get guys that step up like that today. I'm not involved with it at all, other than showing up in an occasional Legends situation or something like that. But I understand Jack is more involved, and I can see Jack standing up and saying, "You will not do this in my ring."
I can see Jack doing that.
Do this I'm sorry?
I can see Jack doing that in a heartbeat, too.
Oh, yeah. And he will stand up and he will stand behind it, because Jack's somebody you don't push around.
Right.
And he knows old school, and he understands old school, and he expects the best out of his workers. And that's why I respect Jack. Is the fact that he will follow through with that. But it's times like that when the old timers step up and the new guys know better than to say a word, and there's no respect like that anymore. Not that I see. There are rare occasions of it. I do know one gentleman that's hot and heavy with it right now through a strange situation that we won't even go into, but Corey Hollis.
Yeah.
I know him pretty well. This kid's got a good head on his shoulders.
Yes, very good.
He and I sat out on my back porch. It's probably been 2 years ago now. Sat out there for hours. My wife didn't even come out there because she knew better. She said that it's going to be one of those wrestling conversations, and I really don't want to hear it. But he and I sat out there, and I've been places, but I've never really been on top. But I could call this my profession. But he listened to me, and he respected what I had to say, and I knew from what he was telling me that he's serious about making this his profession. And from what he's been able to do so far, I think the kid's going to make it. I really do. I think he's going to wind up with the push he deserves. And I understand that his hero is AJ Styles. And I watched one of the probably half dozen matches that I watch a year. I don't watch it. I don't follow it. It's not what it was. But I watched AJ Styles and some guy that he worked with from Ring of Honor Saturday afternoon.
Roderick Strong.
Okay, yeah, that works. And I'm sure that I should be embarrassed about that, because Roderick is probably, from what I saw, I know he's a heck of a worker, and he's probably has his share of popularity. So, that being said, I apologize for not knowing more about him. But they went out there. I like the way both of these guys work, and I've seen a couple of matches that Corey's been in. They go out there with a an amateur shooter style with good high spots, and they work snug like they should on television. And these guys can layer a match together. They tell a story, but they do so in a new school style that's more shooter, more really tight, really snug spot oriented, and I like that. As long as they can continuously do that, I think that's going to be the resurgence. When the wave finally washes away from Vince in his 3-ring circus, that's where the rest of us, or the rest of the guys, that's where they're going to make their money, is places like Ring of Honor.
Now, in addition, you said you don't really do that much other than, I know that, hold on, take 3. I know that we were both trying to make our way over to Georgia originally for Nightmare 4, the final chapter. Unfortunately, that has since been canceled. And I want to say, before I go any further on this, I want to say to everybody at LN Productions, thank you for putting together the shows that y'all were able to put together. I know they really wanted to do this last one. I know they wanted to do the 4th chapter, the final chapter for Ted. And I will say it point blank, they've always done a great job. They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into organizing these things. And there's days where you really wish that they could be a 2-day convention style event, but unfortunately they can't.
Right.
But, cause like I said, I know you and I were both planning, I'm sure, to be at Nightmare 4. And for those who have not found out yet, come out from under the rock you're living in. Because unfortunately Nightmare 4 has been canceled. Damn it. I hate it when that happens, because it was finally going to be on a week when I had the whole day off.
Well, and the odd part about that was the time we spent in the back when Jack and I were over there. I mean, it was a who's who of the guys that I know. I mean, it was Jerry Stubbs.
Yeah.
A couple of the guys that I know that I was actually when I was up in Anniston doing the booking up there, Stupid. I ran into him, and that was, I hadn't seen him in years, and he's come quite a way. He's really impressed me with as far as he's come. But as far as the Nightmare show, Ted would have been proud of the talent that drew. We wound up going to, I think it was O'Charlie's after the match. It was me and Jack, bless his heart, Ron West.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. That is one wonderfully perverse human being, and he will be greatly missed.
Yes.
His son Brett was there. Do you know Bo and Misty James out of Kingsport?
Yeah, I've heard of him. I haven't worked directly with him, and we'll talk off there. But yeah, I've heard of him.
Okay, I sat down with him, and Bill Dundee was there. That was our table.
Nice.
And that was the best 2 hours of Ron telling stories, and Jack eating out of my plate, and me with a huge smile on my face because I was allowed to sit next to Misty, and life was good.
Of course.
But it was the first time that I'd met Bo and Misty. I remember Bo from old Continental days because he started out actually running the ring up in Knoxville. That's how he got started, was putting up the ring, and I think he started refereeing a little bit after that. But that was his break in.
Nice.
And him and Ron go way back. So if you have an opportunity to work with Bo, I think he's just coming off surgery, and he'll probably be out another 6 months. But I would strongly suggest you get in touch with him because he's one of the better ones out there that runs good old school shows up around the Kingsport area.
Okay.
And he books himself nationwide, so he's starting to be well known.
Well, I'll go ahead and say it like this, and I'll say it in public the same way I did in private. I opened up to him a while back. It's been about a year and a half, and he was originally scheduled to come on BR, And I never heard another word out of him, but I'll be more than happy to try to open up lines of communications all over again.
Well, now, if it's, I know he's busy, and I know that he's got a lot going on, especially with the knee surgery and him still booking and running shows.
Yeah.
I'll get in touch with him if you'd like, and see if I can't reopen that myself, and
sure.
and y'all talking again.
Yeah, because I'd love to have both him and Misty come on.
Now, you remember Montana up in Anniston?
Yes.
Both threw out a question about independent films, and I put him in Montana. I hope I put him and Montana together to work on something. So we'll, there may be something coming down the road with out of one or two of their camps, or one or both of their camps.
Okay, cool. Now
if you need me to, I'll talk to him.
Now you've also got. Are you going to try to make Gulf Coast the reunion down there?
Yeah, I've not made that show yet, but I'd like to.
Makes two of us.
I know that there's a lot of guys down there that I'd like to run into. Let's see, I ran into Adrian Street this past year. He was working up in Jasper, and it was a legend situation that I got to show up and I mean, at his age, he is still a man of superhuman strength with all he's been through.
I believe it.
But it's just I just ran into a wall there, Eddie.
I've had that happen before. But do me a favor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the last wall I ran into was at the, let's see, Leeds National Guard Armory, and we broke that wall, and we were the last group of wrestlers to ever go to that armory.
I think I remember that night because this actually would make that does.
Me and Alan was out there playing, and he threw me through one of those plywood walls.
I've actually been a part of 3 different companies where we've been at a facility where somebody has gone through a wall. You were one. I'm trying to remember one, and it was a show. Another one was a show I worked at the I think it's Elks Club down in Calera, and there was a match that went outside, and one's head went through the wall that the wall wasn't supposed to give.
You okay?
So, but the wall gave.
Well, do you? And speaking of weird stories and things winding up where they weren't supposed to be, do you remember Coquina and Private Pile, Mark Youngblood?
Very well.
It was back when I was working full time, and I happened to wind up with this night off when I was working with Continental. The story was told to me that Coquina had gotten mad, or Yokozuna. Coquina had gotten mad at Mark, and they hated each other anyway, but Mark was horribly outweighed by Coquina. Coquina shoved him into one of these like a gym locker, shut him into the locker, shut the door where you couldn't open it from the inside, and told everybody in the dressing room, "You will not let him out." And nobody did.
And
that's where he spent the evening, is in the dressing room in a locker.
That is something that has never happened to me.
Like that nobody can tell that's what I got to live through. But
I would be afraid. I would be afraid for me, you, Dwayne, and a number of the rest of us that are still with the mindset from those days to actually get on and tell road stories.
Oh yeah, that would be it. If we knew that it was pretty much an uncensored situation,
I can arrange that.
Maybe our wives and or old girlfriends weren't listening.
Oh boy. Yeah, not a good idea.
Probably not a good idea at all. So, but the stories that we can tell, that the people don't understand that as entertaining as we are between the dressing room and inside the ring, I'll go to these shows just to hang out in the back and talk to the guys.
Yeah. Because
we're having more fun back in the back than they're having in the ring. or they're having watching. It's great.
Now, I've got to do this. Now, first off, folks, 9:01 p.m. Central Standard Time on this Tuesday night, February the 4th. You are listening to Beyond Ringside, Back to Basics. Thank you to everybody who's catching. I'll thank you in advance on the replay side from Ustream and YouTube, as well as our podcast sites. Various ones are set up in different areas. Be sure to keep your eyes open on beyondringside.com for all upcoming information about how the different shows are being available. But definitely catch the YouTube replays, Ustream replays, and beyondringside.podomatic.com is the easy way to find our podcast. We're also listed on iTunes. We talk about going through a wall, and I remember one of the times that I just went smack face first into a wall, and that was about, I want to say 3 years ago, when I was actually on roller skates, and you're going to love this. No, because actually I was out there along with Mark Mabo Bowman and Mr. MCO Chase Pearson, two tag team partners here on the Beyond Ringside family of shows. And we were covering the Tragic City Rollers open tryout camp.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Good Lord. I'm going to see. And this is something that you and I technically have in common, because when I first found out about TCR, I made it a point, and I've unfortunately, communications fell to the wayside over the last year, because for the last season, there was somebody who tried to get in touch, but I never got the messages. I didn't know that Facebook had an other category instead of just letting me see messages that people sent me. So right. I owe an apology in that direction, because I didn't see the messages come in, honestly, until recently. And, unfortunately, timing's done on that one, but we've got a new season coming up.
Yes, we do.
So I don't know if, let me see, I'm sure a lot of the faces and the names have changed, but I know the insanity is still the same. And you yourself are now a part of TCR.
I've got my own business and have run my own business for a couple of years, and I was visiting one of my customers, and she introduced me to the new girl. And the new girl turned out to be Jennifer Eiffel Power McCohen. And when she told me that she was the head coach and one of the skaters for the All-Stars, the first thing out of my mouth was, "Do you need a referee?" And I have been doing it for a year now. My really cool derby name is Quad of Thunder. If I ever have to change that name or decide to change that name, I will be going to Rathlor 1, 2, 3. But anyway, I have been with them for a year now as an on skates referee. When I first got started, I thought, okay, roller derby and wrestling. You can't get any closer a tie-in from one to the other. And then I showed up the first night, and they told me there were 65 pages of rules. That amazed me. I didn't know that there were rules. It's kind of like rugby, where the only two rules that I'm sure of is there are boundaries and murder is against the law. But past that, 65 pages of rules I was handed. Now, I've been skating ever since I could walk, so
right.
This was a natural situation for me to get into. And as a matter of fact, if you remember the old roller jam back in the mid-'80s, had I had the connections to go to that, I would have. I was deep into wrestling. I was physically fit, but I could still skate like nobody's business. So if I'd have had that tie-in, I would have been there in a heartbeat.
Now, you and I also have another place in common, and that was Lowe's Skating Rink on 3rd Avenue in Birmingham.
Yeah, Lowe's, Skate Your Date, and Holiday. Holiday Skating Rink was the first place that I ever was forced to take a breathalyzer test that I passed. Let's see. But I will tell you that roller derby, this is not your grandparents' roller derby. These girls are athletic, they're serious, and once you get past their really cool derby names, these girls are dead serious about their sport.
Oh, God, yes.
They work hard at it. I'm sorry?
Oh, yes. Believe me, I'm backing you up on that one.
Yeah, they work hard at it. They are very proud of their accomplishments. These girls try harder than anybody that I've seen. These girls work out hard and fast, about 5 hours a week, and then take one day off to do off rank training. These girls are tough, and they're great athletes. If you really want to see something a little bit different, you can go to YouTube and figure out the basics of how roller derby is played and how it's scored. But if you come out, you will truly enjoy yourself. It's the most eclectic group of girls, and all the referee, or most of the referees are guys, with the exception of Sweet Indigo Ego. She's our female ref. We got another female ref that transferred out of the team that'll be starting with us this year too. I mean, it's the most eclectic group of people that I have ever worked around. We've got school teachers, we've got special ed teachers, housewives, IT people, just across the board. These girls are highly intelligent, but they are highly skilled in what they do. And if you really want to see something different, I would strongly suggest coming out and seeing one of their bouts. Now,
folks, you can look them up at TragicCityRollers.com. They are also on Facebook. I believe they also have a Twitter as well. And, you know, there have been, actually, God, let's see, when I was first going, I'm trying to remember Laura's name. This, like I said, this is before you got on there. Of course, Roxy Ramjet, Psycho B, Little Miss Perfect, Tammy Joe. I remember Tammy Joe Twinkle Toes, and a lot of the different, there are, I believe, a couple of them that are still there when.
Yeah, now, Tammy Joe is in and out whenever we have like interleague bouts against the Bolsheviks. She always skates for the Bolsheviks. She's still involved. She's invited to skate with all of the regional teams whenever they need an extra person, and she volunteers to go. That's her involvement at this point. But you still got Suge Fight. I think Road Rage has been there a while. Squeaky. I've met Roxy at Roxy Ramjet at a party that we had. It was a wedding party for Eiffel. She wound up marrying Guinness, one of the other referees. So that's kind of a strange little tie-in, but it works out well for us. But yeah, a lot of these girls, they're all working really hard to do their best with this. And the one thing that they really need is crowd support. And the one thing that I hope to bring to this, and really as a referee, I cannot show partiality, and I cannot help too much because then there's a conflict of interest, but I'd really like to see these girls hit rock star status.
Oh, God, yes.
Because that's when they're going to start drawing, and that's when they're going to start turning heads.
Now, I'll give you a quick note. We just missed, and if I'd have thought about this sooner, we could have actually done a tie-in with their recruiting setup because they just did, their recruiting ended last night, amazingly enough.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we set up for about the girls the new girls. We got one girl that I know pretty well. Her name is Scully. She's one of the non-skating officials, and she's actually working towards being one of the girls, one of the Derby girls. So shout out to her. Hopefully she'll do well. But we just got through with recruiting, and we'll just see who can hang on and who wants it bad enough. But I think we're going to have another good team this year.
I will let everybody know. Mark your calendars, make your plans. Saturday, March 8th. Unfortunately,
that sounds like our first bout.
It is, but it's going to be in a way up in Huntsville, Alabama. So for our friends in North Alabama, the Dixie Derby Girls fans up there, the Raging Rockets. Folks.
Oh, yeah, I got a Facebook message from our head referee, Thor, about making sure that we're prepared to make that event. So you reminded me that I've got to get back with him to confirm that I'm going to make that. So, I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Their home opener, however, is going to be Saturday, March 22nd At, of course, the home. Now, y'all are still at the Zamora Shrine Temple, right?
As far as I know, that'll continue being our venue this year, yes.
Cool. So, folks, once again, if you're ready for a road trip, you can catch the Tragic City All-Stars versus the Raging Rockets, also known as the Dixie Derby Girls of Huntsville, Alabama, up on location in Huntsville. They'll have more information coming up. Be sure to keep your eyes on their Facebook, their Twitter, and TragicCityRollers.com. But the home opener is going to be Saturday, March 22nd, as the Tragic City All-Stars take on the Rome Roller Girls of Rome, Georgia. Like I said, mark your calendars. There's a lot of fun to be had. I have been to some TCR events. I always have a great time. And I guarantee you, you will too. Get ready for it. This is the weird thing about it, because to make that transition, there's a key element that I tell people about, whether it be in pro wrestling, whether it be MMA, whether it be, and all the way over to roller derby. There's a fun factor involved.
Yes, there is. With the way I've heard it explained as far as wrestling goes is a suspension of reality.
Yeah.
In roller derby, I would say that it would be the empowerment of women to step outside their daily roles and strap on pads and strap on wheels and go after it. And these girls are tough. But they are some of the nicest girls. Once they pull the skates off, they're some of the nicest girls you'd ever want to meet. All the way down to all that ink and all that strange hair dye. Every one of them wears it so perfectly well.
Brother, we could easily go another hour. You know this, right?
I've got all the time in the world, man. But yeah, we could go on, and one story would lead to the next and lead to the next. And I know that I've dropped a few names as far as Jack goes and all that, but there's an endless list of people that have come in and through my life, through wrestling. And I've got places I've been and people I've met and stories that nobody else will ever be able to tell. And if there's a legacy here, that would probably be it.
Before we wrap it up, I've got to do this. We've got another mutual friend over in the chat room right now. Bandit, how you doing over there? Glad to see you're on board. Thank you for checking in on the chat room. He said he could tell some road stories on us as well.
Bandit.
Larry Davis. Shh.
Not Larry Davis.
Yes.
Did he get out of prison?
He's actually.
I know he had a hard time getting himself out of the gentleman's club on First Avenue a lot of nights.
Oops.
But I haven't seen him in 20 years. He just friended me on Facebook.
He's actually in the chat room right now, and he's listening live.
Ago.
He's actually listening live and in the chat room right now. I knew.
How about that?
Absolutely tremendous, dude. He said, "Oh my God, I totally forgot about that." Not.
Yeah, he and I go way back. I mean, that was one of the Fairfield connections that I made 30 plus years ago at this point. So yeah, like I said, there's people out there that have come through my life that, it's been an amazing ride. And yeah, I look back on it and think, was it really worth it? And yeah, it was.
You just said a number and it just made me cringe. You said 30 plus. It's like, shoot me. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's crazy once you think about it. I got to figure out I've wrestled in 4 different decades. You know, I started out in the 80s and have wrestled in the teens. Right before I went under the knife, I had 3 final matches just to get it just to know that I would remember the 3 matches because I knew that that's all I had. One was against Doink the Clown. One was a mixed tag match with Dandy and Peggy Lee, and the last one was with Tommy Rich. So I went out. I went out with a bang. I went out with some names that I got to work with. But yeah, I hate the fact that I'm out of it. But I have no choice. I can still involve myself. It's just a matter of involving myself to the point of falling down. They won't let me do.
Yeah. Brother, I hope you can come back on sometime. I'd love to pick this up on another date.
Have me back anytime. You know where to reach me, man.
You got a deal. I will hold you to that. Ladies and gentlemen, Lightning Lee Peak.
You don't know how much I appreciate it, man.
Not a problem. Has just gone beyond ringside. Folks, hang with us. We're going to come back on Back to Basics in just a minute. Taking it all back to basics. Tuesday night on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. Fast Eddie Layne, live from Studio One. Everybody hanging out in the chat room this evening. Glad to have you on board. Bandit, glad to see you. Glad to talk to you, man. Daryl B, glad to have you in the chat room this evening. To everybody passing through, just now getting here, you missed a great time with an old friend, inside and out of the ring. Lightning Lee Peak. There are some names from the lore of days gone by in the southeastern United States that I will be working to bring on in the very near future over the next few weeks here on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. And the reason why I'm focusing in that direction is because of a concept word that isn't used properly in this day and time. The word is respect. And it goes for first year or 20th year because a lot of us and a lot of people have forgotten how to properly apply that word, not only as it pertains to wrestling, as it pertains to sports, as it pertains to business, but as it pertains to life. And if nothing else, I'm shooting straight on this one. I'm giving myself a refresher course in it too, because I find myself falling into the trap of the human condition sometimes. And I hate it when that happens. It's been a great weekend so far. It's been a great week so far. And this party is going to continue on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. I'd like to welcome in tag team partner from the Saturday Showcase. Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Central, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern. And also the host of Cosz and Wick Thursday Night Radio Throwdown, Robert Cosper. What's up, dude?
My friend.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I killed the volume. I didn't want to make any noise while you were talking. Thank you for having me, buddy. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. What you got coming up on C&E this week?
Lord, I got a lot on the table. I'm waiting on some confirmations, but I know that we're going to have we've added Mad Dog Dan Sawyer to the cast, which is always entertaining, especially to the frat party we throw every Thursday night.
Yeah, really.
Now, we've had an off week. My broadcast partner and best friend, The Effect, Stuart Couch, man, he lost his father-in-law this past Friday. He passed away, so prayers go out to him and his family. And they've been a little busy getting all arrangements in order, so we haven't necessarily sat down at the table and said, all right, this is what we're doing this week.
Right.
But been in contact with the Global Championship. The Global Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, Francisco Chiazzo, the King of Florida from New York. Cool dude. Real cool cat. Hopefully he's going to be on with us. And there's a rumored, the Real Nature Boy could be with us.
I believe that one when I hear it, but, you know.
Yeah. We will all find out together this Saturday or this Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Time right here on Beyond Ringside.
And also, I'm going to throw out an Easter egg real quick. I'm slated to be joined on Sunday, this Sunday, on Beyond Ringside Live, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central, by one half of arguably and inarguably one of the greatest tag teams of all time, Robert Gibson from the Rock and Roll Express, slated to join us this coming Sunday right here on Beyond Ringside Live. Definitely check us out, and like to welcome in tag team partner from BR Live, as well as the host of the To Be Determined show, Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 7 o'clock Pacific, right here on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. The Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis in the house tonight. What's up, Wick?
I am just on my brand new BlackBerry. Yes, I know BlackBerry has filed for bankruptcy, but guess what? They're still making phones, so I got one. I got a Z10, so yay capitalism. Yeah, but tomorrow night we got Ace Rockwell coming on, and we have Miss Rachel coming on to the show. So a lot of stuff going on. We're going to ask Miss Rachel about fetish matches, NWA Women's World Championship, and you know what else? We're going to talk to her about women's wrestling. Yes, believe that, women's wrestling. Can you believe that there is still women's wrestling out there?
Yeah, there is still actually, and let me give you this one. Let me find this real quick. By the way, once again, if you didn't catch it, he's going to have the 7-figure deal Ace Rockwell on the To Be Determined show tomorrow night, as well as Miss Rachel, formerly known as
Pandora's Box.
There you go.
And Pandora.
Wow.
All of the above.
Yeah, she was Pandora 6 years before Tom Buckaball and Pandora was.
Oh, now I have a quick question here, though.
Yes, sir.
Did I hear fetish matches? Is that what I heard?
No, customs matches.
Got to keep it clean.
Fetish matches are totally different because there are people that do fetish matches.
Right.
Let's say like your NWA Women's World Champion right now, quote unquote World Champion. She does fetish matches. There are a lot of women that do them, but then you have people like Tasha Simone, Miss Rachel, Miss Natural, of course, Heather Patera. They do what are called customs matches. That's where they have ones that are canning, where the people come in and then they just film a match, like a women's match, and they sell it. And then they also have customs matches where are completely scripted. Now, there are some sexual matches out there that have hair pulling. They have bra and panties matches. They have, these weird submission matches and it's just, they do have fetish matches. Do I condone those? No. Have I seen them? Yes. Are they weird? They're weird but we all know, we're all adults here. You know, most of the guys that watch those customs and fetish matches, what do they're going to masturbate to them anyways? But at least have some type of decorum where they're actually wrestling, and that's the great thing about it. As I said, there's a thing called canning customs matches. That's where you go and you film a match, then you sell it. Tasha Simone is really big about this. Miss Rachel has every kind of customs match you can have, but she does not do fetish matches. If you want fetish matches, you talk to Amber O'Neil. Amber O'Neil will hit you up with fetish matches, and MLW will definitely hook you up with fetish matches. They'll probably cook you some crystal meth in the back, allegedly.
Allegedly.
I'm about to
I've been to customs matches. I've actually been a part of customs matches.
Oh, okay. The lights just went back bright. Never mind.
Well, let me give you this one to take into consideration. I had it just a second ago, and it is a brand new promotion. It is called Valkyrie Women's Wrestling. They have just announced their first entrant for their debut tournament, the International Joshi Grand Prix. Kimber Lee is going to be the first entrant. They've got, I'm trying to remember.
She's okay.
Oh, very much so. She's
a little above average. She's about right there with Casey Carlisle in terms of ring work, to be honest with you.
Now, according to the notes that I've been given, May 24th, 2014 in Brooklyn, New York is where they are going to have their very first show, the International Joshi Grand Prix. Looking forward to this, looking forward to hearing some great things out of Valkyrie. And as everybody...
Hey, Valkyrie, if you really want to hear about women's wrestling, Angel Orsini is right in your backyard. She'd be a hell of a pickup for them. But of course, they don't care. What they're going to get, they're going to get people like Jessica Havoc and Christy Erie, these women that do those type of matches that go in. But Valkyrie, awesome name, but you got to show me more than your first entrant being Kimber Lee. I'm just saying, if you want to make a splash, you need to get Heather Patera or Angel Orsini, somebody like that, somebody that has been, no offense to Kimber, but geez, that's like, wow, get to the first entrance, woohoo! No.
Well, it's all different strokes for different folks, and we all.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. I should never have used that phrase on that, considering what you were just talking about a minute ago. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about preferences, which of course can be misconstrued as well.
Basics, correct?
Yes, it is. It's clean. Hell damn ass.
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Well, I know that, but I was just saying, we got, let's keep it basic then.
There you
your
go.
women's matches have either got to be very, very sexual or very good. Anything in between is going to get crapped upon.
Yeah, very true. But right now, to my knowledge, I know of 4 promotions in particular, and Valkyrie is one of them, but there are 3 that are running shows on a semi-regular basis. One is WSU, which is co-owned by Combat Zone Wrestling's owner DJ Hyde. Of course, you've got Shimmer, and of course, you've got Shine. And the thing about it is, I know what they're up against. And it's the same thing that you're up against, Wick. I'm going to throw this one. Here comes your curveball for the week. When you were looking to bring a new face and form into the Unlucky Charms. Now, I'm going to go ahead and cut you off for a second because I know that when Damon Christopher announced his retirement, that leaves an immeasurable and unfillable void for the MOD and for the Unlucky Charms. But by the same token, I know you and I are of the mindset where you're not trying to replace anybody who is definitely irreplaceable, but you're trying to add a new element to the puzzle, correct?
Oh, Eddie. You're trying to bait me into telling you if there's going to be a new member of the Unlucky Charms. Here's what it is. There's a grand design to the Unlucky Charms, plain and simple. There's a grand design to the Merchants of Death. There's a reason why, like, the NWA Elite, there's a reason why, all these PCW factions that they put together, there's a reason why all those have gone to the wayside. There's a reason why there's no more Irish Brotherhood. There's a reason why the Underground's breaking up. There's a reason why the Wrestling Foundation will never do anything in this business, because they're all a bunch of individuals. They don't have a mind for one goal. The Merchants of Death do. Okay, this is 8 years. 8 years the Merchants of Death has been going strong. We have a grand design because we make sure. We could add anybody to that. You could add anybody to that, and we're going to be successful. But that's not the point. It's not just putting a new cog into the system. We have a totally different frame of mind and a totally different viewpoint than most wrestling factions, groups. We're not stables because there's no flies around us. But that mentality, keeping that goal in mind, you have to be very particular about who you let into your group, who you let into your family. You have to be very particular. You have to be very, very hidden. Like, do you think that Corey, AJ, Mike Cruz, and Francisco, do you think they hang out after? No. Corey and AJ do. They're good friends.
Actually, I think Chiazzo and Cruz do.
But do they hang out together? All 4 of them?
No,
they don't. Exactly. I can go to Chris's house right now. I can go to Tasha's house. I could go to Danny Only's house. I could go to Doom's house. Like, I hang out with these guys on a regular basis. The Merchants of Death umbrella is ever stretching. Corey Hollis, Danny Only, and Doom Trevor Eon fall under that umbrella. And then you have the Unlucky Charms. You got Tasha, who falls under the umbrella of the Merchants of Death, too, by herself. You have Orion Bishop still. You have Colin like a Bomb Pandora. Despite what's happening at GCW, I mean, she's still under the umbrella. But there is a grand design, Eddie, and it is in motion. It is in action right now, and believe me, the wheels are spinning. And there are several people that I would like to add to the Merchants of Death and to the Unlucky Charms, but right now they have other things they need. They have other things. Like, I would love to just say, Doom, come on in. But you know what? Doom's got other problems. Joey Lightning, Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you never know when the guy's going to pop up. He needs to take care of that. Jake Cole. Jake Cole would be a great addition to the MOD and to the Unlucky Charms. But you know what? Jake Cole has other priorities. He has other things he's wanting to do. He's wanting to go work other promotions. Then let him. Anybody that doesn't want to get on this train can either get on it or get ran over by it, plain and simple. Wow. There are several people out there. But you and I both know Jeter and Blaze, Brian Blaze, the big F and deals, they're right there as well, because they never, ever got beat for their titles when they were under the Merchants of Death, their tag team titles at ACW. They're still the champions, just like Chris Knott. They just decided, well, you know what, we don't want to use two black guys because we're all a bunch of racists. I almost cussed. But they are. Big Clyde, you're a racist mother. Right here in February. Right here. How dare you? How dare you, Big Clyde? Piece of trash. You know what that guy told me one time? They had these belts. This is a belt mark for you really quick. None of you guys. He had a Texas title there. The man's never even lived in Texas. He's never even been to Texas. Never been to Texas a day in his life. But he told me, he was like, I said, Wicked, I just want that title. I just want that Texas title. I said, do you want this Texas title? I want that Texas title. So I threw it at him and said, here, you can have the belt. And that's what most people in this business is like. That's the mentality that a lot of guys have. They think they have to have a belt to mean something. Well, you know what? Those guys are wrestlers, will never be workers. He's barely a wrestler.
You're exactly right on that point.
I have to have a belt to hold up my pants.
You guys see this. You guys have set back enough, and Eddie, you especially, have set up on that damn stage and watched people come through the doors of GCW that could have done something, but they all get that mentality. They get that sickness. They get that sickness of, well, I just want a little bit more. Then why don't you go out and get more? Why don't you do with what you have? Like, well, I feel like I'm being overlooked here in GCW. And then they go somewhere else. You know what they do? They go somewhere and they work for free, and then they start at the bottom of the barrel, and then you can never crawl back, and then they call them back. Well, you know, I just think, well, you know what? Now you have to start at the barrel again now. Anytime somebody gets a footing in this business, they want to turn around and go, well, let's go back down the mountain. That's idiotic. They will never be part of the MOD. They will never be part of the Unlucky Charms with that mentality. And several people have that sickness, sir.
It's a simple point. The belt does not make you. You make the belt. More importantly, you make the championship. It does not.
Robert, how long have you been in this business, Robert?
Oh, watching or active?
Active.
I'm in my first year, actually.
Now, how in the hell can you get that through your brain in less than a year, but yet some people that have been in this business longer than I have still have that mentality?
Hey, Wick.
I've been in 8 years.
Wick.
Sir.
It's an Eddieism.
No, it's called respect for the business, though. Also, it's
drink
what you do. Yeah, that's my fault. I did that. It's respect for the business. It's loving what you do, but more importantly, it's loving what it does for you also. It's what you put in.
Yeah, you say it. Finish it. Finish what you're about to say.
No, it's what you put in. If you put in crap and expect everything, you're getting nowhere.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly, Eddie. And did I not say this in my rant several months ago to the entire locker room? What you put into this business is what you get out of this business.
Yeah.
If you protect this business will protect you.
Sometimes.
We all know I'm a dirty mother. And I've done a lot of dirty stuff in this business to a lot of people. But you know what? I still have their respect. Because I took care of the business. They know every time I've done something to somebody, they deserved it. I've never beat somebody's ass. I've never undressed somebody and told them exactly where they need to go. I've never told somebody they need to burn their bags unless I meant it and they know I meant it. Like Dylan Cook. That kid's future is bright as hell.
Very.
I don't care what anybody says. That guy has a bright future in the business. First of all, he's respectful.
Yes.
Second of all, he has love for this business. Third of all, the guy has a work ethic like a Dan Mule.
Agreed.
He has a great, bright future for his business. Some of the people that work in the Southeast, that kid's first match was Saturday night in Palmdale. You go and you look at that kid's first match. Mark it down right now. What is it, February 4th?
Yes.
February 4th? February 4th, 2014. Back to the basics, Beyond Ringside. The Wicked Nemesis, Robert Cosper, Fast Eddie Layne. We're sitting here, and I'm about to tell you this. I want you to take this, cut this out, Eddie, and I want you to put this up somewhere and put it aside. A year from now, you look at Dylan's match that he had Saturday night against Russian War Machine. You look at that a year from now.
Yeah.
You look at that match, and I'm telling you right now, he's going to progress. He's going to get better. And you compare his progression. You compare his match last night against some of these people. Compare it to Paul Lee. That's better than anything Paul Lee's done in his last entire lifetime. That's better than One Man Crew's entire run in Japan. And One Man Crew paid his way to go to Japan. Paid his own way to go to Japan.
I love
this. You think if I go to Japan, you think I'm paying? No, they're going to pay me.
If I'm going to pay to go to Japan, that's because I'm going to Ribera Steakhouse to buy a jacket.
And they better have some hairy Asian muff over there.
I think I'm going to pay Wick right now, actually.
They have great biscuits, okay?
There you go. Muffins, wonderful thing. Now,
yes, sir.
Let me lay this one out there for y'all. We're going to do a topic shift for a hot second because one of the hot stories coming out of last night's Monday Night Raw episode was the factor of reportedly, allegedly, some fans being thrown out because they were chanting for CM Punk too loudly. I mean, it's been on Twitter, it's been on Facebook, and God knows if it's been on Facebook and Twitter, it must be true. But there were actually people who Wrestling Inc. posted people's tweets as they were after they got thrown out of the Raw live event last night. Now, look, Daniel Bryan a week ago said the one thing that Wick, you and I have said in particular, that when people buy their ticket, grab their popcorn, kick back and enjoy the show, they cheer and boo whoever they want to, because that is the way the world of pro wrestling goes. We can't help the fact that there's been a reported alleged falling out between CM Punk and WWE, and that's going to affect people who want to see CM Punk because they want to see CM Punk. Therefore, they're going to chant for CM Punk. If this is actually true and they did throw people out for this, how far does that set back people wanting to spend money on the WWE product, Wick?
You know it sits back tremendously. The wrestling fans as a whole, especially with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, are two people you really don't want to mess with. You throw Kenta into that pile as well. One thing is to be mad at the guy. Another thing is, and we all know, WWE will get your money, then they'll toss you out. They have no problems with that, but they just don't care. Those 4 or 5 fans aren't going to affect anything. Now, if those 4 or 5 friends tell 4 or 5 friends, and so on and so on and so on, then it will affect them. I'm telling you right now, those exact same people, you know what they're going to do? They're going to turn around and buy tickets and watch Monday Night Raw.
Now, actually, it was reported that it was between 30 and 40.
Well, then, those guys right there, I would tell them to kiss my ass, and I would film it, and I would put it up, and I would send it directly to CM Punk, and I would get it out there, and I'd get in touch with Chris Hardwick for Nerdist. I would send it everywhere.
Cosper, your thoughts about people reportedly being ejected for chanting too loud for CM Punk?
I've got a couple of points, and you're already on my itinerary for Thursday. But my first one being, I don't care who you cheer for, who you like, who you don't. When you pay your money for the price of a ticket, you have the right and the opportunity to go and cheer for who you want to cheer for and who you don't. It's just part of wrestling. But secondly, if we kind of rewind the clock a little bit and go back in time, during the Monday Night Wars, was it not WWE? Now I've got to be sure, but there was a sign ban. Remember in the wars, and I think it was WWE that banned the signs. If you showed up with a Bischoff sign or a Hogan sign or a WCW related sign, it was taken up and thrown away, or you were asked to leave or escorted out, however you want to say it.
Right.
Did that not take place then?
I believe that happened on both shows.
Okay, but again,
they'll throw you out for anything. They'll take your sign, because I had a sign at one time before I ever got into wrestling that had MOD on it, and they took our signs, Bishop and I, and then they were going to throw us out till Bishop stood up and they realized how big Bishop was, and they're like, you know what, we're going to take your sign. So, I mean, they do that. They do that all the time. I mean, they're punks, especially those security guys. You guys know that. Those security guys always got to stick up their ass. So they want to go up there and like, you take that down. And I'm sure that they were chanting CM Punk. It was probably right by the camera or something like that. But you guys know you can't have them chanting CM Punk right by the camera, right by the microphone. Now, when you just let the guy go, you just took one of the biggest black eyes that you've had in some time. And that's what it is. It is a black eye to the WWE, whether they want to admit it or not, and whether we want to admit it or not.
Well, see, I watched Raw in its entirety yesterday, and in the first 80 minutes, the first hour and 20 minutes of the show, I counted 11 different CM Punk or We Want Punk chants. And really? you could see the mouths moving on the TV screen.
Punk's hot right now. I mean, he was hot before, but he's hot now after the press, but
Okay, let me hit the chat room real quick because Daryl just brought up one. And by the way, before I go any further, Homeless Soul, thank you very much for the comments in the chat room. Greatly appreciated. From that point, Daryl asked, I don't get why people are chanting for Punk. Didn't he walk out? It's not like he was fired. Okay, the case point scenario is, yes, he did walk out from allegedly walk out. I don't know the whole scenario. Cosz doesn't know the whole scenario. Wick doesn't know the whole scenario. Only the folks in WWE know the whole scenario. Only CM Punk knows the whole scenario. The basic rule of thumb is you can only go with what information has been released, leaked, or discussed. And at this point, it was reported that Punk did walk out of WWE, of Monday Night Raw, before the show aired after the Royal Rumble. But from that vantage point, if he's not happy with the way things are going, and I don't ever advocate somebody just picking up and walking off the job, not unless every other possible method of communication has been tried.
You hear that, J. Cole?
Because there was one job that I actually walked off of, and the reason why I did that is because the fact that I tried everything else. I tried sit-down conversations. I tried stand-up conversations. I tried over a nice, cold, refreshing adult beverage. I even put it in writing. That did not work, so therefore, guess what? My time was done. I said hasta la bye-bye. Plain and simple. That was one job that's the only time I've ever walked out on a job. But see, in the world of pro wrestling, we have a tendency to be a little bit more dramatic. Oh, maybe just a wee bit.
How's that?
And things have a tendency to happen a little bit more knee-jerk. A lot of the times, and Wick, you can vouch for this one, there are times only two people know what happened and neither are talking. Yeah, CM Punk and Triple H, plain and simple. Vince is even getting secondhand information because I don't think Vince was directly involved in the conversation before Punk left. JMT, correct me if you think I'm wrong on that assessment.
I think it's work.
I'm thinking it's a work too because they're going to Chicago next week and CM Punk's being advertised for Chicago.
Not only that, you go to the WWE website. The BlackBerry Z10 had the WWE app already on it. So of course I checked it out for the first time, and it had something on there that I was kind of like, "What?" It said WWE app. Catch all the latest CM Punk WWE news.
Really?
Yeah, enough said.
Enough said. And plus, I just went to WWE.com earlier today, and his picture's still up, his profile's still on the website.
See, that was one of the things they said that he had already been taken down. Like, that was one of the rumors. See, I'm telling you guys, this is all at work. I mean, we break kayfabe, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I think he was going in July. I think they did something just to stir up some controversy for him, but I don't think he's coming back after July.
Okay, JMT just made the comment in the chat room. Vince was the one Punk was talking to before he left. Okay, we can go with that. But from that vantage point, there are a lot of times, Wick, like I say, you and I can have this conversation. Robert, you're going to learn this one as time goes on, where a lot of people in the locker room don't make known what is on their mind and on their heart when they have friction with somebody. There are a select few in a locker room, and normally it's those who've been around this business for a damn long time that will actually, or those who are just ready to, just let it rip and see what happens. Without being dramatic, they're being real. But in a lot of cases, people don't communicate in a locker room. Wick, true or false?
You're exactly right. Why do you think that everybody respects me and I stand out so much? Because I tell everybody how I feel, and that's a rare. But that's not just in wrestling. That's in any kind of organized sports and any kind of entertainment. I mean, you hear it all the time. You hear people that co-stars in movies that don't even talk. Like, they film their scenes and then they leave. There's problems, but then you hear years later like, "Oh, I have no idea why I was mad at Christian Bale," and it is in basketball. But sometimes, Eddie. Sometimes the guys that don't communicate, sometimes their strife and their friction they have between each other sometimes makes for damn good TV and damn good, profits. Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, they didn't get along all that well. But damn it, Jordan could have won those titles without him. I mean, you're not going to be Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. You're not going to be best friends. That's all there is to it. But Eddie, you know this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Cosper knows this. I'm sure all the wrestlers know this. People in general don't have the guts or what have you to speak up to tell everybody how they feel about something, especially when there's money involved.
I hate to leave it on this note, but I've just had a 30-second plus sustained thunderclap and lightning bright enough to where it illuminated an already lit room. So I'm not going to take a risk on this. Guys, I'm going to go straight for it. I hate to do it. By the way, before I do anything else, guys, seriously, if you haven't seen it, the AJ Styles Roderick Strong match from ROH this past Saturday, that in my book, a match of the year candidate already. These two guys lit it up for 25 plus. Number 2, Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton. Excellent match. That would be a WWE match of the year contender right off the bat, and we're only in February. If you get a chance to, please check them out. I'm going to toss it around real quick. Shameless plugs, or if there's a final comment you want to make, let's do last call shameless plugs at the same time. Cosz, you're up first.
All right, short and sweet. Looking over in the chat room, I'm with JMT over there. I agree. Everything I read also, it was Vince he was talking to. I agree with that. And secondly, from a fan standpoint, I'm not going to argue with you guys of it being a work. If it is a work, I mean, the math adds up, especially being in Chicago coming up. If it is a work, I think you're hurting more than you're helping, especially where WWE creative and storylines go. I think you're hurting it because it's an insult and it's a slap in the face. Past that, let me shamelessly plug this Thursday night on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network, which you are happily listening to right now.
Well, hopefully happily.
Definitely happily. My gosh, you've got me and Wicked Nemesis on here. I mean, how can you not be happy, right?
I'm happy.
There's definitely something for everybody. But 7 p.m. Central Time, right here, Cause and Effect. We have Francisco Chiazzo coming up, and you never know. Wick's favorite person may be with us as well. And I'm going to toss to Wick on that.
Hey, at the TBD show is the To Be Determined show's Twitter, at Wicked Nemesis on Twitter, Wicked Nemesis Enoch, Caesarian, everywhere else, Unlucky Charms, Merchants of Death, and of course, To Be Determined show. All I have is a Facebook fan page. I have to disagree with you really quick, Cosper. If it is a work, then that's just it. It's a work because it works so many people. So, job done.
True.
Also, tomorrow night, Ace Rockwell and Miss Rachel, and for Daryl B, I know you're going to like this, Miss Rachel from England, so we get to have the double. The world may explode. We're going to have 2 English people on the show at the same time. Holy crap, and they're going to sound totally different. Totally different. This is going to be amazing. And also, ladies and gentlemen, go out and support local independent wrestling. For everybody that's out there Saturday night at Palmerdale, for everybody that sold church, for everybody that bought a ticket, thank you. And looks like we'll be seeing red again. That's all there is to it. Gender goddesses everywhere unite. Woo!
Real quick, I want to run it down. Number 1, thank you to Lightning Lee Peak for coming on during the first hour this evening. Great to have him back on board Beyond Ringside, Back to Basics in the Tuesday night conversation. Also, longtime friend Lawrence the Bandit David over in the chat room this evening. Great to see you, Larry. Always a pleasure, and definitely going to do lunch sometime. Daryl B, JMT, to everybody in the chat room this evening. Thank you for hanging out with us. It has been, I've really enjoyed seeing a lot of the comments come across the board. Let's run it down. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, the To Be Determined show. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. Cause and Effect present the Thursday Night Radio Throwdown. Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. The Beyond Ringside Saturday Showcase. Yours truly, Hitman BDC, Big Daddy Cool, Ryan Adcock, and the Cause and Effect Robert Cosper on Saturday mornings. And of course, on Sundays, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Central, 3:30 Pacific. Beyond Ringside Live. Keep your eyes open on BeyondRingside.com as well as Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live, our Facebook fan page. At Beyond Ringside over on Twitter. And for everybody who has been keeping track, yes, Fast Eddie Layne, LAYNE.com, Facebook.com/Fast Eddie Layne as well. I'll see you, let's see, Friday night, Buffalo Wild Wings, Alabaster, Alabama, 9 p.m. start. I had to take a breath finally. And Sunday nights, 9:30 p.m., weather permitting this week. I heard we're supposed to get snow again. Holy hell. At Courtyard Oyster Bar and Grill on Highway 31 South, 1st Avenue North. Figure that paradigm out. In Alabaster. thank you once again for everybody coming on board. Real quick, I know we are confirmed at this point to have Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express on this coming Sunday on Beyond Ringside Live. Once again, keep your eyes open on .com for all upcoming show information. Thank you for downloading through the podcast. For everybody on Ustream and YouTube, thank you for watching tonight. Until next time, for the Cause and Effect, Robert Cosper.
Over and out.
For the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis.
Robert Gibson, you still owe me 5 on that sack, man. I'm still holding you that. You and your bad eye.
This is the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Layne saying us. Join us right here as we all go beyond ringside. And on Tuesdays, we go back to basics. Bye for now.